Hey everyone, this is Ryan Mitchell with thetinylife.com. Today I wanted to answer some questions that I got about tiny house bathrooms. I'm here in my tiny house and I wanted to just kind of, add this video to answer some questions that we frequently get about bathrooms, because that's like one big thing that people usually have a lot of questions around is like, how do I take a shower? What about the toilet? All these things. I wanted to shoot this actually in the bathroom, but it's tiny and not very, like, the lighting's much better here, so you bear with me here. But my tiny house bathroom is right here, and I got some questions here that I solicited from folks on the mailing list. If you'd like to be, on our mailing list in the future, we will be asking questions from people about upcoming posts. So if you'd like to add your question to the mix, join the newsletter, thetinylife.com/newsletter, to get on the list. And from the time to time, we email people asking them for questions. So the first one here is from Indiana, from the UK, and she asks, does mold occur in such a small space? Mold is kind of like a big issue when it comes to smaller spaces, mainly because it can be a little bit trickier to manage air quality and humidity in a smaller space, because there's less space to have, and thus it has larger swings, because cooking, or you running the tap, or you taking a nice hot shower that's steamy dumps a lot of moisture into the air. So I would say that it is something that you need to think about, but with some pretty simple strategies, you can actually have zero mold problems at all. And really what that comes down to is just have good venting in your bathroom, and then also have some way to dehumidify the whole space. So in my case, I have a bath fan right here in the bathroom that is able to turn over the air in this entire house several times an hour. And then I also have a mini split back there which does dehumidification, so it removes moisture from the air. So between those two things, that is pretty effective at just handling the internal humidity of this. And if you think about it, mold really needs a few things. One, it needs moisture, humidity, dampness. Needs some kind of substrate to actually build on and kind of grow on. And then it typically needs the right kind of temperature. So if you can control those things, which you need to do in any home anyway, then it's not a real problem. Where you see mold, especially like, I've seen like small bathrooms and things like that, it's just all about not managing the humidity correctly in those spaces. Sharon from Texas asks, what is the cost and difficulty level of installing a conventional toilet? Can you have more than one bathroom? So I suppose you could have more than one bathroom, but I would really question, do you really need it, right? When it comes to tiny houses and just simple living, the big thing is to question everything. And I think that when it comes to a tiny house, when you have such a small space, then you need to really think about the space that you're giving up for the value of it. So I'm assuming in this question you're asking, like, okay, maybe we have a guest bathroom and like our main bathroom that we use. How often are you actually going to have guests, right? Pretty rare. But that's a lot of square footage, or your house has to be that much bigger, which increases the cost, the weight, the complexity, all these things. So I would strongly suggest that you just have a single bathroom and let people use it if you need to. If you have a big family, maybe make some considerations to that, but yeah. And then the first part of your question was, what's the cost and difficulty of installing a conventional toilet? It's the exact same cost that it is in any traditional home. With a conventional toilet, you can buy, a toilet right off the shelf. And then with plumbing, it may even be easier, because since we're on a trailer, as long as where your drain line is that you need to put through the floor, there isn't like a trailer cross member, then you have free access to right underneath the trailer. The one thing you got to watch for is just freezing lines. If you live in a cold climate, you either want to do skirting, insulation, probably both. So Lee from New York asks, how do composting toilets really smell? So I think with composting toilets, they certainly have a bit of an ick factor to them, right? I'm just not gonna lie. When I first started tiny house living, I wanted a traditional toilet, flush toilet, but when I got the quote for running the sewage line and then the fees for the permits and the connections and all the inspections that were going to need to happen, it was just way more than I expected. So I just ended up going with a composting toilet. And when I actually first started, I was using the bathroom as kind of like storage while I was living in this space, because I was kind of still working on it when I was moving in. And so as a result of that, I actually had my composting toilet outside set up, and I never really brought it back in. Like, I just kind of liked it outside. And then I didn't really have to worry about the smells and things like that. But composting toilets, they do have a smell. If you think about like a porta potty or an outhouse kind of thing, it's kind of on par with that, except for the fact that, one, it's your own, so you're going to keep it a lot cleaner, and two, it's just you or whoever you're living with. So like just the volume is less. For me, my city requires me to bag and toss in the trash for pickup each week. And that was just a rule from the city for health code, things like that. So I don't really need to worry about it too much, because one, it gets cleared out very often, and two, it's outside. I know other tiny house people have it inside, and they just have to make sure that they have good venting on it, which a lot of them require anyway, which I think helps mitigate that pretty well. They also have good ceiling lids. So I would say if you're going to do a composting toilet inside, you'd probably want to get one of the commercially available ones, because it has those vent fans and those nice ceiling lids. Okay. See here. Amber from South Carolina asks, I'm planning on including a full-size tub in my bathroom. What are your recommendations? So the full-size tub, first off, I would say, think long and hard about whether you really do want a tub. I know a lot of people, they're just like, I can't live without it. I just absolutely need a tub. And if that's really the case, then, that's totally fine. But I think some people also get hung up on like what they need, they should have, or they need to have, and they place these labels of needs on things when maybe it's really a want. And I think you need to get square with yourself about what is a true need and what is a want. Now, if it is a need, then what I would say is, try to find a very compact size. What's the smallest size that you can actually have? Think, there's like some freestanding ones where there's a lot of space around it. I wouldn't suggest that. I would choose something that's kind of a built-in model, or maybe like I've seen some custom-built soaking tubs where they're a smaller footprint, but they're much deeper, so that you kind of just like sort of like sit quasi-lounge in them. And, the water comes up to here, but you're more in a sitting posture than a laying out posture. And then try to capitalize on storage around it. So if you're going to eat up all that space, just realize that there's some potential there for extra storage. And then also understand that your trailer needs to be able to handle the load, including the water that fills it. Water's 8.5 pounds per gallon. So that's a lot. So you have the water weight and the tub weight and all those kinds of things that you need to make sure. And then your trailer is going to have to probably be bigger anyway, just for the extra space. So Lee from New York asks, what is the best ventilation system to manage moisture? A bath fan. And then I would say some whole house dehumidification option. Those two things will, with an open window when you're showering, will handle most of the things. Jerry from California says, is it possible and or advisable to consider a no threshold shower design? It is certainly possible, right? And the only thing that comes to mind with that is if you're moving your tiny house often, or you're not able to get it perfectly dead flat, your angle of the no threshold shower may be a little bit off, so that the draining doesn't quite happen the way you're expecting it to. So you might have to do a little bit steeper of an angle for that no threshold, but certainly possible. Rosemary from Oregon asks, what is the preferred brand of composting toilets? I just use, a 5-gallon bucket with a seat lid from Luggabaloo. That's what's worked for me. I haven't personally used any of the other brands, but I know the Nature's Head is a popular one. And I've heard bad things about the incinerating toilets. So that's all I can really say to that. So we got a question from the Netherlands with no name, but what do you do with the shower water if you're moving in a tiny house? So with that, what I would do is there's several options for RVs, which are like these gray water or black water rolling collection things that you can basically hook up to your drain lines, and they just drain into it, and they have wheels. It looks kind of like a wagon, sort of. So you can kind of capture your gray water in there and then dump it when it's appropriate to, or where you can. So that would be the best thing there. So I kind of want to end with a few tips here. These are in the post, but I thought I'd add them to here. First, make sure you plane your drains carefully. If you have to put a hole through your trailer, you want to make sure you're not having to go through any metal of the trailer, because that would weaken the integrity of the trailer, and that's just not good. Where possible, put the fixtures requiring water close together. So I did a kind of a terrible job about this. You see, I got my faucet here. The back of my shower is on this wall. If I was doing this optimally, I would put the sink right here so that the water connection and the back of the shower were right back to back. But they're not that far apart. But it did require some extra plumbing. So just think about how you can be efficient with the location of your water and drain lines. Don't forget to put a place for trash and dirty laundry. This is something that I did that I really wish I hadn't. I don't have a pull-out trash thing, and I now have a laundry bin right here, which I have. But most people don't think about that in their planning, but it's something that you're definitely in need. Don't forget a place to hang your towels. Again, this was another learning from me. I just added a hook, not a big deal, but I didn't have a real place to hang the towel for it to dry when I'm done using it. Consider places for clean towels, linens, and cleaning supplies. I have a storage shelf right here that's kind of organized, not as much as I'd like, but with the bathroom, you're going to have to store stuff, so just kind of keep that in mind. This is a big one. Make sure your shower, tub, and sinks can fit through your front door. Because if, let's say, you're doing a shower stall, most of the shower stalls are not going to fit through a tiny house door. And tubs may or may not fit through your doors or windows, things like appliances also. So sometimes you actually have to build them into the house just to fit them in, because you won't be able to get through the door. They do have 4-piece bathroom shower stall kits where it's 3 walls and a basin that you can do, that come basically flat packed, that you can set up. So there is an option if you forget to do that, but it's just, I'd rather have 1-piece shower stall. Use pocket doors to make sure that small spaces stay functional. So if I had a door here that swung out, this would be a kind of a pain. But I use a curtain here, but if I wanted to, I have a pocket door right here to just have a way to close the door without having a swinging door take up space. Make sure you have a bathroom vent van, very important, and figure out what you need to store. Get really clear on that. Design your storage for that, and then give yourself at least double what you think you're going to need, because there's going to be things you forget, like I did with my hamper and whatnot. So I would just recommend doubling what you think you're going to need with your storage, because you'll probably end up just about right at that point. So folks, that's it for me. Again, Ryan Mitchell with thetinilife.com. If you'd like to ask questions in future videos, please join the newsletter, tinilife.com/newsletter. There you'll get a bunch of cool information about tiny houses, simple living, minimalism, and homesteading. And from time to time, I email people asking for questions on upcoming posts. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much. Bye.